Hi, thanks for joining me, or I probably made you watch this, so thanks for watching. All right, so today we are going to learn how to make creme brulee. So creme brulee fits into the family of custards. So along with custards, we have the flan, you have your pastry creams, and they all essentially are made the same way, having egg yolks as that primary substance that keeps the custard from forming. So let's get started. Okay, so you can see here that I have my mise en place laid out. So I'm using ramekins, but if you want to use those custard cups that you use for the lava cakes, go ahead and use those. It'll be just as fine. And then inside, I have the ramekin sitting inside a pan that will allow me to put water in there. The hot water is going to allow the creme brulee to bake more evenly. Also, I have my heavy cream, 2 eggs, 3 tablespoons of sugar, a little bit of salt because I'll add that to the heavy cream, some vanilla. I'll need a bowl to whip up my egg yolks. And also I have a pot of water heating up on the stovetop that will go inside of here when these are ready to go into the oven. Okay, so now we want to separate our eggs. So I like that method that I showed you before of just placing the egg into a bowl and scooping it out with your hands and getting most of that egg white or albumin off, and then put that into another bowl. So again, one more time. So these are large size eggs. And remember, you can always look at that air cell in there. Take a look at yours and make sure it's a small cell. The larger the cell, the less fresh the egg. And if you wanted to look for that germinal disc on the egg yolk, you could do that as well. Be a fun thing to try. Okay, into the egg yolks, I put 3 tablespoons of sugar, and I'm going to whisk this together. We want to whisk this until it turns to a nice light lemon color. So remember, whisking is your wrist motion, not a stirring motion. And you can see the color changing. It's from that really bright yellow to now a light lemon color. All right, so that looks good. Okay, next step is to heat our heavy cream. So I have 1 cup of heavy cream, and I'll scrape this out so I get all of that heavy cream out of there, as it is thicker and does coat that cup. And also the oven needs to be preheated to 325. Make sure you have that going. I'm just going to put a pinch of kosher salt in there. And then we're going to bring this up to a medium heat. We're going to stir it, and we want to bring it just before a boil. So as soon as you start to see some small bubbles indicating a simmer, then you're going to turn off the heat. All right, so this took me a few minutes to get this going, and so you can see some small bubbles. So I am ready to turn off the heat at this point. And then I'm going to add in a ½ teaspoon of vanilla. Stir that around. And I'm going to remove about 1/4 cup of this heavy cream and gradually add it into the egg yolk mixture. And I'm going to whisk this very slowly so that I don't scramble the eggs. And so this is called tempering the eggs. It's bringing it up to temperature really gradually to avoid that scrambling of the eggs. So this is really important. If you try to incorporate the egg yolks into the hot cream, you will end up with just a blotchy mess of scrambled eggs. So see how slow I'm going, gradually adding in just a tiny bit. And now I'm gonna add this mixture into the hot cream. So now it's tempered. It's not going to create a scrambled egg mess. Also stirring when I'm incorporating it, scraping down my bowl. Now these are ready to go into the ramekins. All right, so now I'm going to pour this mixture evenly into the ramekins. Just pour in a little bit. I want to try to get it as even as possible. So I'll just go back and add 2. And so this is going to firm up and set when it's baking in the oven. All right, and now I'm going to get that water that I've had boiling on the stove top. You want to be careful not to get water into, actually I'm just going to remove them and add the water in here. About 1/2 inch of water. Now I'll add these back in there. And so this is going to promote even baking. And now these go into the oven for about 35 minutes until it doesn't jiggle. So we want it completely set. All right, so these came out of the oven. They took the exact time, 35 minutes. And so you can see when you take them, they don't jiggle. So that shows that they're set. So now they have to cool, and then they do have to sit in the refrigerator before we sprinkle the sugar on to brulee them. There's a few options you could use. You could use the broiler of your oven, which I'll use that method, or if you have a torch, which I do here, you could also use that. So I'll do both to show you what it looks like. Okay, so these have come out of the oven and they are completely cool. They were refrigerated slightly. So now I'm gonna take that extra tablespoon of sugar. I have a different sugar if you wanted to try this, a vanilla sugar. It makes it a little nicer, but you can use regular sugar. So 1 tablespoon, and we're going to sprinkle it over the top of all 4 of these. And so 2 of them are gonna put in the oven on broil, and then the other 2 I'm going to use my torch. And so we'll see the difference between the 2. So you want to make sure it's nicely coated. If you need a little extra sugar, feel free. I just grabbed a little extra. Okay, now I'm going to turn my torch on. Give it some heat here, and whenever if you do this at home, make sure you have it on heat-proof area. I'm pulling it high at first, and then I'm judging it as it's sizzling and starting to brown and caramelize. Turn it this way so you guys can see it. Okay. Turn that off. All right. There you can see it's nicely brown. This one, I got a little bit excess there. So we'll put these two in the oven. I have it on broil, and you want to keep your oven door slightly propped open so you can watch this as it starts to caramelize. All right, so we did get a little different effect from the oven. These are still hot coming out of the oven on broil. So I'll show you that one. They're a little more even browning in the oven than when I use the torch. But both have achieved the same thing with caramelizing the sugar on top. So toss it up that way. So there you can see the browning is slightly different. So both are good. Happy brulee making.